An entitled Karen cuts in line in front of an entire store full of people and decides to make a scene when she doesn't get what she wants. And after hearing just about enough of her yelling and screaming, I decided to speak up and put her in her place. This is what happened. I recently relocated and moved 2 time zones east and had the luck to fly in at midnight during the last of an early summer storm with my 3-month-old son. I had a hard time coming down from the adrenaline of landing, and to say that I was exhausted when I went to pick up my equipment for internet service the next day would be an understatement. This particular internet shop had this very clever digital waiting list that showed the first name of who was next to be served. I was delighted to realize that I had arrived while a majority of the staff was at lunch. Oh well, I had 45 minutes to my appointment at the leasing office of my new apartment. I sat down at the table and waited for my turn. Not long after I settled myself, another woman walked in and started looking around wildly. Somehow she caught my eye and asked if I was in line. I nodded and pointed at the tablet she was standing in front of and told her to put her name down. She looked around wildly for a few minutes before putting her name down and stepping fully into the store. There were clusters of people around, and this lady wandered over to every cluster that wasn't being helped by an associate, attempting to group people together who were not together. She tried to convince a poor woman across the store that she was in fact there with me for several minutes. My sleep-deprived brain decided to laser focus on this lady because I knew something was about to happen. She was too aggressive to accept her place in the line. She finally stalks up to a register where an associate is helping a different customer and thrusts an Ethernet cable at him.
"Do you remember me? It still won't work."
The entitled woman shouted this at the employee. She was maybe 2 or 3 feet away from this poor man and actually elbowed the customer aside. He stuttered an apology to the customer he was helping and turned to the cabinet behind him and thrust a brand new cable at her. But this woman wasn't satisfied though. No, someone had to take the old cable and dispose of it for her. Luckily, one of the other employees had come back from break and apparently had some guts in him because she said, "Ma'am, you can throw your own cable away." She had to repeat herself because the harpy took several seconds to refocus on the new target. She got to skip the line. She harassed some people. She should be ready to go, right? No, of course not. They simply had to dispose of the cable for her immediately. Also, a side note, there is no way she would have thrown away the new cord. It was nicely coiled and it looked brand new. The old one was floppy and gray. I shifted and forced my spine to straighten, fixating on her with the kind of stare only someone deprived of sleep, the way parents are with infants, and loudly screamed, "Hey lady, you've harassed everyone here, gotten what you wanted, and skipped the line we've all been waiting in. Get out. I have another appointment at 2 and you're slowing things down for the rest of us." After that, she turned and left without another word. I did apologize to the associate for yelling like that, but I have no regrets. I hope her internet is forever slow and her Netflix always buffers. It is so good to see this kind of Karen karma come slamming down on someone who deserved it. This lady cut in line just to make a scene, and that is so disrespectful. That's awesome that the original poster had the guts to stand up and say, "You know what? Enough is enough. It is time for you to go." And I will also note that it is awesome having a coworker who would stand up and say, "Hey, throw away your own cord." Because honestly, that's all you have to do. The floppy gray one that this lady was swinging around this store like a dead fish very easily could be thrown into any trash can. More specifically, in her own trash can. So to act like this is some kind of travesty, as if you can't take care of this yourself, is just really weird. So thankfully, this Karen got what she deserved, and I also agree with the original poster. I hope for the sake of her being so entitled that her internet is constantly slow for the rest of eternity. This next one came from the Am I the Jerk podcast subreddit. Check the links in the description if you'd like to submit your own stories. An entitled Karen demanded me to change the recipe for some cookies. And when I told her that we haven't changed the recipe in over 30 years, she freaked out and demanded a refund. Here's what happened. I'm a 24-year-old male working in a Jewish bakery. And a little spoiler if you want to call it that, the recipe in question was the same recipe it's always been for the past 30 years since the bakery's been running. For the past 3 years I've worked at this place. This was what I was told. And with that, here's what happened. The incident in question happened an hour prior to me posting this. But before we get to that, let's go back about 1 week. Last week, I received a phone call somewhere about an hour before closing time. I answered the phone, and on the other end of the line was a very unhappy customer.
Hi, are you the owner of this place?"
I answered and said no. She then responds by saying,
"Well, tell the owner that this cookie I bought from you guys is just absolutely awful."
For reference, this type of cookie is a soft Jewish cookie with fruit filling in the middle, or at at least, that was how I interpreted it. I replied asking what was wrong with it, and she said,
"You guys must have changed something with this recipe. My sister is a chef. We know what it should taste like, and this isn't it."
I told her that it's been the same recipe for 30 years, but she was still not believing me for a second. Before I could get the rest out, she then said,
"My sister will come over next week for a refund, and you better explain what's going on."
I complied, and that was that. Fast forward to present day. So here I was, preparing today's order and slicing bread. Then in came this entitled Karen's sister. She looked to be reaching her late 60s or early 70s. She had that friendly appearance, but she was far from friendly, which I was about to find out. She stood there, tapping her fingers on the counter, and I asked, "How can I help you?" And she immediately barked at me, saying,
"Oh, your nasty cookie tasted like garbage. My sister called a week ago, and she demands to know what is going on. You changed the recipe, didn't you?"
I told her the exact same thing I told her sister the week prior, and just like her sister, she didn't believe me for a second.
"No, you changed something. I am sure of it. You tell the new owner to use the original recipe. I've been coming here for 30 years, and we know what it should taste like, and this isn't it."
Me, being a non-confrontational person by nature, decided to just let her have her way and gave her a refund. Honestly, it was $6 and it was worth it. Before she left, she again reminded me to tell the boss to change back to the original recipe. So eventually, my boss arrives and I tell him the story, and he and I shared a good laugh, and he tells me that this person always says that whenever she comes in here. In the 3 years I've worked here, I know for a fact my boss never changed it, because he has said many times that it would confuse him if he did any alterations. So I know he's telling the truth. All in all, that's a Karen experience I won't soon forget. Some people are clearly very passionate about cookies. How crazy do you have to be to buy a cookie and be like, "Oh my god, they changed the recipe," and then confront some poor hourly worker and be like, "Give me my money back"? Like, that's another level of unhinged crazy that you don't get to see very often. I feel really bad for this original poster because they took it like a champ and just said, "Here, just take the $6, please." The silver lining though is that this guy now knows who to look out for and can keep an eye out to try and push a new person up to deal with this crazy Karen when she comes up demanding money back for the cookies. My entitled coworker waited for hours for my shift to end, so I would drive her home even after I said no. I work at a library, and I work in the children's department along with older coworkers, with some teenage employees scattered in the mix. I've been working there since high school, which is how I know Sarah. That's not her real name. To put it bluntly, Sarah and I are not friends. We used to be friendly back in high school, as we had a couple of the same friends, and we've been working at our job for years. I would definitely not call us friends currently though, due to Sarah's attitude. She's that type of person who will ask for a favor, and if you refuse, she will treat you like garbage and act like a complete jerk. Once in high school, she asked me for a ride home, but I said no, as I had a track meet and something that day and obviously could not take her. She huffed and stormed off, glaring at me for like a week before she came back like nothing had happened and asked me for a ride home again. It's clear too that she doesn't really see us as friends, as when we work together, she'll ignore me completely or just glare at me, only talking to me if it's something that involves her job or if it's something that she needs. If she needs something from me, then suddenly we're best friends again, and she'll chat with me like nothing happened. So yeah, I don't really like her. To the main story, I came to work yesterday at about 2:30, and Sarah was there. Our shifts alternate slightly, where there's like an hour where the two of us are both working before she leaves, and I continue my shift. I hadn't seen her since we graduated, so we spent a few minutes catching up. She then asked me if I could take her home after her shift ended. I was obviously confused, as I still had hours to go before I was done with mine, and I even told her this. She then implied that I could use my break time to drive her, and I honestly laughed out loud because I thought she was joking. For reference, our breaks are about 15 minutes long, and it would take 30 minutes to drive there and back from her home without traffic. In fact, realistically, it would end up taking like 45 to 60 minutes because of how heavy traffic is in our area. And also, who wants to spend their time driving someone home? Sarah was shockingly not joking though, claiming that it would be doable and that she really needed the ride because she had to be home and her mom couldn't take her. I said no, sorry, but no way that's happening. Sarah stormed off and ignored me for the rest of her shift shift all before she left. Or at least that's what I thought she did. I didn't think much more of the situation, and in fact, I was a little amused at her audacity, but whatever. Eventually, my time to leave comes up, so I wave bye to my coworkers and I head outside. That's when I see Sarah sitting outside on one of the benches. She immediately perked up after seeing me, running over while I just looked at her. "You're leaving, right? Can you give me a ride?" I was so shocked. I flat out asked her if she had been waiting for practically 4 hours for me to leave, even after I said no. She said that no, she walked to our nearby town to do other things before she came back here, but in my opinion, that still counts as her waiting for me to give her a ride. I was creeped out and honestly incredibly angry, since it felt like to me that she was trapping me and playing the "you're leaving so you can take me too" card. It took everything in me not to yell or even book it to my car. I calmly told her that I had plans after work and that no, I could not take her, and honestly thought it was insane that she would just wait around and assume that I would take her instead of getting the message and calling someone else. She just stared at me, and I think she was a bit shocked that I actually stood up to her. With that, I walked to my car and drove off. I really hope she never tries to do that to me or any of my coworkers ever again. This Sarah lady really thought she had it all figured out. She thought she could wait around and try and trap you into driving her home. Instead of, I don't know, calling an Uber, calling someone to pick her up, walking home. 4 hours have passed. Does she have nothing else to do? If I was in the original poster situation, I 100% would have reported her to the head librarian. This is straight up workplace harassment. This is not okay. This is also not high school anymore. These types of behaviors and actions have consequences. And the fact that you are being stalked out in the parking lot by this lady to say, "Hey, give me a ride home," is absolutely crazy and absolutely not acceptable. You told her no, and that should have been the end of it. So good for you for sticking up for yourself and telling her to get lost. And the next time you go into work, tell your boss exactly what happened, because this behavior is unacceptable and it's not something you should ever deal with. My girlfriend went to a concert with her coworkers and claimed it was a work event. My girlfriend and I have been together for 3 years and have a solid relationship. We recently moved in together not too long ago. She has a coworker that she claims to not like and complains about how cringy and inappropriate he can be. This coworker was hired at the same time as her in a student placement program. They share an office and collaborate on quite a bit of work. She has work events pretty often, just because of the field she is in. Dinners, charity events, stuff like that. After the last event, she came home with one of those quick sketch pictures you can get at places like Disney World, depicting her as well as this coworker. She said they plan on putting it up in their office. She talks often about this coworker, sometimes speaking positively, but mostly speaking negatively about him. He posts pictures often and gets her to take the photos for him all the time at work, and mentions her on his social media quite a bit. He paid an Instagram account $50 to post a picture with a custom message to her. Now my girlfriend comes home and says she has a dinner and concert to go to this weekend, and that she is going with this coworker and the company has paid for it. I thought it sounded weird, but I just accepted it. The next night, she is on the phone with her friend, and I hear that the company didn't pay for the concert tickets and that he had spared a ticket and invited her. She told her friend on the phone that it sucks she has to go with him and that she'll just go and do her own thing. She was fully aware I heard this conversation. I'm definitely not the jealous type, but I actually feel concerned about this situation. This coworker is single and she's told me before he is actively looking for a relationship. I feel like he has a crush on her, given everything he is doing. Should I see this as a problem for my relationship? And how should I approach this situation with my girlfriend? I hate to be the guy to jump to conclusions, but it really sounds like she is lying about the nature of their relationship. Like, this totally sounds like a date. I hope I'm not crazy in saying that. She is going with another coworker who is also a man that has a crush on her, as well as going to dinner with this coworker, all in the same night. Like, there's very clearly more to this story that she is just not telling you. And it's not fair for you at all. Like, it seems like the original poster in this situation is being very naive. This guy is not her friend. This guy also spent $50 to have a message sent out to this lady over Instagram. Like, you don't do that unless there's some kind of ulterior motive. Like, you shouldn't be spending money posting messages about someone else's significant other. That's just weird. So in my opinion, this guy is not just a friend. I think there's a lot more going on based on what you're describing, and if I were you, I would definitely put my foot down about this whole situation and say, hey, I know you're lying about the concert. I know for a fact your company's not paying for this, and I have suspicions that you're slowly cheating on me with your cringy coworker who you swear you don't like, which by the way, it kind of seems like she does. All of the red flags are quite literally in front of you, and I really hope you're able to see them and act on them, because you deserve a lot better than this. My girlfriend of 4 years has been uninvited to my brother's wedding by his fiance. My 4-year relationship has been rocky the last 6 months. We're still living together, but she's been uninvited to my brother's wedding next month, even though I'm the best man. Last summer, my girlfriend and I bought a house together, and things were absolutely perfect. We lived with each other at our parents' houses during the COVID pandemic, and so it wasn't anything new. Most likely, it sped up the decision for us to buy a house together, as it worked really well living together. In the months leading up to the next moving date, we knew a puppy was on the way for my girlfriend's family dog. Within 2 days of moving in, we also had a puppy. She's a great dog, and I love her to bits. For the next few months, things were swimmingly. We were decorating the house and generally very excited with this huge lifestyle change. Fast forward a few months around November time, and I noticed things weren't quite right. There was far less affection, and she just wasn't her usual happy self. I picked up on this and tried to talk to her and support her. I knew she had been attending counseling sessions since before the summer so that she could try to deal with her and her mom's relationship. As a side note, her mom wasn't a very good parent when she was younger. No affection, little support, and generally just not very kind. We spoke about all of this, and she was finding everything a little heavy and difficult and was trying to get through it. I was very supportive and tried to just generally help out a bit more around the house, just to try and cheer her up. Unfortunately, things kept going downhill, and by Christmas, she has basically said to me she didn't know what she wanted. She was unsure about her career as well as me. This was a massive shock to me, but I kept being supportive and helping her, as I still thought there was a chance things could work out. Over the next few months, I carried on supporting her, making dinner, washing up, just generally helping out as I knew she was very stressed and struggling with her job. I even helped her change her career. She never really enjoyed nursing and did it predominantly because it's what her mom wanted rather than what she wanted. Through all of this, I felt it was quite a hostile environment. We were sleeping in separate rooms and there was next to no physical connection, maybe the occasional hug. It didn't really feel friendly anymore. I was finding it extra tough that the dog was getting so much attention and myself none. This had been going on for about 6 months. It finally got to the point where I couldn't really see things changing, and I told her this about a month ago. Both of us were very upset with this, but to me, it wasn't a situation I wanted to carry on living with. The next day, she came back to me saying she knows exactly what she wants now, and she's 100% in. Obviously, I was very skeptical about this. However, over the next week or so, I did see huge improvements in friendliness and effort. The last few weeks, things have been okay. There was a little dip when I went to the pub and forgot about my dog's dinner, which I fully accepted that it was my fault and that a dog is a huge responsibility. My mistake, genuinely. At the moment, things are still on the rise, but my thinking is as long as I'm happy and not down about it, it doesn't really matter. Things may not always work out, but I'm quite comfortable with my current situation. I'm very close with my parents and siblings as well as their partners. In fact, my family is very close-knit, often going on holidays together, as well as my girlfriend attending with us over the last few years. Because I have such a supportive family, I'm very grounded. My outlook on life is that it will be alright and work out somehow. I've spoken to my parents throughout this, and they've always said they'll support the both of us no matter what happens, which I'm very lucky about. I told them that things were on the up, but still quite rocky. It's my brother's wedding next month, and I'm the best man. Throughout this, he's been very good to me, offering to help out financially if we need to sell the house or anything along those lines. When I wasn't sure what was happening, he said the place for my girlfriend was there, and it didn't matter if she came or didn't. I was very grateful for this, as I didn't want to cause any annoyance in what I know is a stressful period for them. So come last night, my girlfriend got a text from my brother's fiance, basically saying she was uninvited from the wedding due to the current situation between myself and my girlfriend. I was very taken aback by this, since as far as I was concerned, the place was available and I had not not hurt any different. The only thing I can think of that would explain this sudden decision is when the last time my brother and I spoke about my situation, he offered to help out if we needed to sell the house. I was quite worried to say that things were on the up and up again in case it fell apart again. I wanted to see where things were going before telling the world just in case. My extended family is also very close. My girlfriend has met them at all of our parties and then some. And so I know come the big day, I will be bombarded with questions from my family basically asking why my girlfriend's not with me today. I know it's their special day. And so it's up to no one but them to decide who to invite. I'm just feeling a little bit conflicted and so confused as I don't know what I want or how things will work out. This entire situation is just really messy and I genuinely don't know what to do. It is incredibly insulting for this brother to suddenly allow his fiance to uninvite this original poster's girlfriend all because they're having issues. Like, how is that anybody's business? That's so disgusting. The original poster also goes on to say that he has not texted back his brother after finding out that his girlfriend was uninvited to their wedding. And honestly, I'm really kind of annoyed by that. This is an urgent situation. You need to figure this out like immediately. Like, stop what you're doing and call them and get clarification. Because from my perspective, it seems like she got uninvited for little to no reason. It sounds like the original poster kind of implied like, hey, things have been rough, but it's getting better. And they must have taken it as some kind of like toxic relationship, and they're probably like uninviting her so there's no drama at their wedding, but there's no drama to be accounted for. So it's like, what? It seems like this couple that are getting married got ahead of themselves without knowing all the facts. If I was the original poster, I'd be very upset over this. This is my girlfriend you're uninviting, and I'm the best man. Like, what are you doing? Personally, I would first get a lot of details about why my girlfriend's not allowed to be at this wedding, and then depending on that conversation would determine if I'm still going to be the best man. You can't expect the original poster to just drop his girlfriend of 4 years out of his life for this special day and expect it to be normal. Like, that's super inappropriate. He bought a house with this lady. It's not like he's not going to see her again, and he can't just cut things off like that. That's ridiculous. So yeah, if I was the original poster, I would have texted about this yesterday. There's no way I would have let this simmer and just kind of go where it is now, because I need details and I need it fast. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're trying to cut my girlfriend out of this special occasion, when previously we've all shared our moments together, from family outings to all sorts of things. So I would get details quick and I would get them today. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And the next time you live stream, use the Cream of the Crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.